Is Wenger interested in Draxler and Royce? We take a look at Man United's latest midfield targets and what's the matter with Juan and Jose. Joining me today are international football writer Peter Staunton and goal correspondent Greg Stobart. I'm Nat Coombs and this is Transfer Talk. Let's start with new business then. Arsene Wenger delighted with how Mesut Ozil settled in at the Emirates, wants to go back to the Bundesliga, reports suggest, and plunder it a little bit more. Pete, tell us more.
Yeah, reports out there that Arsenal are looking at Julian Draxler of Schalke and Marco Reus of Borussia Dortmund. The way I see it, though, I would say it's either one or the other if Arsenal are going to make a move, because both of them sort of occupy the same area of the pitch, that kind of wide left area drifting in. Long-term potential-wise, both of them have it in abundance. Price-wise, looking at 35 to 40 million euros. So whether Arsenal are willing to part with that sort of money so soon after parting with 50-odd million from Mesut Ozil, that remains to be seen.
Royce would never leave Dortmund, would he, for Arsenal? He loves the club so much.
He's a bit of a homeboy. I think he'd probably want to move to a bigger club than Arsenal if he was going to take the step up. And I don't think there's any chance of it happening in the January transfer window.
Ingratiating yourself with Arsenal fans right off the bat there, Greg. What do they really need, though? Because they've got such fantastic attacking players at the Emirates. Don't they need to shore up things a little bit further back or go for a striker?
I think the priority has to be another striker. We don't know what position Arsenal will be in January. The likelihood is they'll be in the Champions League knockout stages and they could be going for the title, in which case they might open the chequebook and spend big money. But the priority for me has to be a striker to compete with Giroud, at least, probably an upgrade. Now,
the priority for Man United, Pete, is absolutely a midfielder. That's no news to us. Latest reports suggest that Alex Song might be looking at a move to Old Trafford. How credible do you think those rumours are?
Yeah, the talk in Catalonia at the minute is that Song is unhappy, really, playing that deputy role for Sergio Busquets. Although he did play at the weekend, and you know they had a pretty decent win at the weekend as well, Barcelona. But whether Song is ready to drop his Barcelona dream so soon, just because he's not getting that regular game time ahead of one of the favourite sons of the club, I don't see it happening.
It's hard to believe that Barcelona would let another midfielder go, with Thiago having gone in the summer. Is he the kind of player you think that United need?
He'd do a job for United. I think what United really need is the players they missed out on in the summer, which is someone like Fabregas, Thiago. They need a creator, and that was very, very obvious in the Manchester derby. They're really missing quality in midfield.
Who do you think their likely targets are going to be next summer? Because January is always a slightly artificial time to bring someone in.
Really early to say what they'll want to do next summer. For a start, as you know, I'm not even sure they'll be in the Champions League next year. I think they'll go back in for Herrera in January, but it's far too early to say. What we do know is they're very weak there. I wouldn't even be surprised to see Wayne Rooney dropping deeper and deeper as the season goes on.
Greg, already you've upset Arsenal and Man United fans in the first few minutes of this show. Let's see if you can make it a hat-trick with Chelsea. Juan Mata left out of the squad completely against Fulham. Mourinho clearly doesn't fancy him, does he?
I'm starting to worry about what they say about never go back to your old club. I'm starting to worry a little bit about Mourinho, because his treatment of Juan Mata is bizarre, to say the least. He's been their best player the last 2 years. Tactically, I can kind of understand what he says when he talks of Mata being unable to play on the flank, not working hard enough, wanting to play in that number 10 creative role in the centre. But he's better than Oscar for a start, and he's such a good player. And to isolate him like that, to cast him off in the way he has, is really, really strange behaviour from Mourinho, because Mata is a really good professional as well.
Pete, that giant of Chelsea's history, Avram Grant, said he doesn't understand why Mata isn't being picked. Do you?
From Mourinho's perspective, I do understand why he's not been picked. And Mourinho did this with Karim Benzema at Real Madrid before. He didn't pick him, and he told the press exactly why he wasn't picking him. And very quickly, Karim Benzema picked up on the fact that he wasn't been picked for because of his work rate. And he gets back in the team. And I think Juan Mata is probably going to have to alter his game slightly if he wants to get back in the Chelsea team. But if he's not in that team come January, with Isco already coming into the reckoning for the Spain squad, I think Mata will probably want to move away, even on a short-term situation, just so he can get into the Spain squad for the World Cup, and he won't be short of suitors.
Lukaku, Courtois on loan. Do you think that Mourinho's made some pretty suspect decisions so far this summer?
I would say the Lukaku one, certainly. He's already scoring goals for Everton, and Roberto Martinez has been talking up what a clever and intelligent player he is, all the while Chelsea strikers toil. Courtois probably needs another year away from Chelsea, only because Peter Cech is still at that level of consistency, even though Courtois is probably the better goalkeeper at this stage. But like I said, I think if Juan Mata wanted to go in January. I think he had no shortage of suitors. Probably Atletico Madrid, Napoli as well. Also, Rafa Benitez in the reckoning there now. They would take him, no problem.
Time to look at our market leaders then. This is where Goal ranked the top transfers of the summer, and we are putting them in order of how well they are performing. Top 10 here. Last week we tinkered with the list a little bit, and every week my guests will convince me that I need to make some changes. We're going to start with you, Pete. Looking at that top 10, who isn't in there that you think should be?
I would take Gonzalo Higuain, the Napoli forward, and I would put him in the list. I would probably replace him with Mario Gomez, just because Gomez is going to be out of action probably until December with that knee injury. But if you look at Higuain over the last few weeks, he scored some really big goals for Napoli. He scored in his last 4 games, scored in the Champions League against Borussia Dortmund, scored a huge goal against Milan in Serie A on Sunday night. And he looks the part for Napoli, and he looks like that front man who can not only replace Cavani, but carry them deep in the Champions League and carry them towards perhaps Serie A ambitions too.
Wow, no doubt about that. Higuain's had a terrific start there, so I'm definitely going to put him under consideration. Who's the other player you want to see in our top 10?
The other one, very unfashionable signing over the course of the summer. Everyone thought Arsene Wenger had gone completely mad when he brought Mathieu Flamini back on a free transfer.
Why do you think he was criticised so much?
Well, because he didn't spend any money, and it seemed like another insult for the Arsenal supporters that they had to endure another free signing after getting Sanogo earlier on in the summer. But there's no doubt about it, Flamini has given this Arsenal side something extra. He's liberated Aaron Ramsey, who's scoring at will, and he's plugged that hole that was, left by Alex Song when he left for Barcelona. He's doing a better job than any other midfielder has done in the past 2 years for Arsenal in that position. He's been a fantastic, shrewd acquisition.
Both good arguments, Pete. You certainly can't argue with Flamini's input into that fantastic start to Arsenal season. I'm going to give my verdict in a minute because, Greg, you want to look at the top 10. And again, based on performance since these players have been signed, you're not altogether happy with how they've been ranked, are you?
I think Mesut Ozil should be in the top 3. He's certainly been more impressive than David Villa over the last few weeks. There's not much more he could have done so far at Arsenal other than score a goal. He was man of the match again against Stoke. Got 2 assists, possibly 3, depending on who you listen to. He's really invigorated them. They're top of the league, and his impact has been absolutely massive. I think he's got to be in the top 3. He's done everything and more that Wenger would have expected. I'd
be crazy to argue against that. Any other players in that top 10 that you think don't necessarily deserve where they're ranked, either going up or down?
I don't think Falcao could have done much more either. He's scored 5 goals in 6 games now, and now he's done it in a big game as well. He's done it in PSG. He scored a crucial equaliser. I think Falcao certainly up there with David Villa, probably been better, so I'd push Falcao up.
Okay, good arguments once again from you. And Greg, I'm going to go with both of yours. I definitely feel Ozil deserves a spot in the top 3. I think Falcao should be pushed up that list as well. Pete, 1 out of 2 ain't bad, as they say. I definitely feel that Gomez, based on his injury, should drop out of the top 10 for now. Of course, he's got plenty of time to get back in. So I am going to make some changes there and bring in Higuain into the top 10. Flamini, for me, hasn't done enough yet to warrant a place in the top 10, but let's just say he's bubbling under. Will you take that?
I'll take that, Nat.
And this is our revised top 10. No change, crucially, guys, at the very top. Tevez and Isco, any argument there?
No argument for me about Isco, 100 times better than Ozil.
Great.
It's been absolutely fantastic, and Tevez scored another super goal, and he settled in very quickly at Juve.
Good, so we're all happy then. So, gents, we're now in added time where I put some of our viewers' questions to you, and we'll start with you, Greg, and a question from Naveen, who says, what's going to happen when Suarez returns to the Liverpool lineup, considering Sturridge has been in such explosive form?
Sturridge is in brilliant form, and we know from history that he doesn't like playing out wide. He wants to play down the middle. With Coutinho injured, there's a chance that Suarez could be shifted into a central role and they can play together. I expect Suarez will play on the left against Man United.
Will he be happy with that?
Yeah, he's played there before, played for Ajax. I think he's actually better there, potentially, because he can escape defenders' attentions more easily.
Pete, the last question comes from YouTube. Could Mario Mandzukic leave Bayern and head for Zenit?
Well, next summer there's going to be a new number 9 at Bayern, and it's going to be Robert Lewandowski. So where that leaves Mandzukic is anybody's guess. He has performed very well for Bayern over the past 2 seasons, and he does deserve a lot of credit for carrying them through some difficult moments. Personally speaking, I think he's better than Zenit, and he will probably find his place at a better club than that. Bayern pretty ruthless when it comes to shedding strikers, as Gomez found out this summer. So he'll have 1 more season as Bayern's outright number 9, and then it could be time to say bye-bye.
Yeah, with Gomez going, it probably means it's less likely that Mandzukic will follow out.
Well, I think once Mario Götze comes into the team, he's going to come in as a forward player rather than a midfielder, and Pep Guardiola will play up to him as a false nine, as they call it, rather than playing him as an outright attacking midfielder. Add that and Lewandowski together and you've got some firepower.
Thanks very much indeed, guys. I'm afraid that's it for today. If you have a question for our panel for future episodes, don't forget to use the hashtag AskGoal. And for more of the stories you heard on today's show, log on to Goal.